don't mind just having a bit of a walk around the garden today, but I've got a bit of a sore knee and I'm not getting around too well. So I couldn't really run around and do a video, so I thought just a gentle walk would do it. Well, I thought we'd be really brave today and we'll have a look in the greenhouse. Now, please remember before we go in here that this hasn't been used for a while, and I used to have a much larger garden which I condensed down in size, and most of the stuff from up there ended up dumped here. So, cut us a bit of slack.
This was taken just a few weeks earlier.
Okay, so now you're getting a chance to see just how bad this place is. I've got all the tomato pots left over, wood shavings, wood chips, bags of straw. I've still got peppers drying on the vine over there. That'll take forever. Water barrels and, oh, I mean, just don't look at me bench. But you know what? With a little bit of studio ingenuity, you know, as if by magic, and only a couple of weeks later, some of the mess has been cleared away. Not all of it, mind. But the greenhouse is now a lovely growing space. Yes, even sweet potatoes. And in the corner down here, we've started potting on the tomatoes, getting them ready. The peppers are all doing extremely well. They're still small, but they're doing really well. And even here on the little potting bench, you can see we're starting to keep everything growing. So although there's still a bit of mess out of the way of the camera, I may add, it is starting to come together quite nicely. And out in the shade now, coming across to the balcony garden, you can see it's absolutely bursting full of growth. At the back, that's those tiny radish seeds we put in. Look at the size of them. The spinach on the top is doing well. In fact, everything is growing beautifully. Well, here they are. You can see them. They're all coming through quite nicely. No sign of the ones under the straw yet, but I imagine they're there. We just can't see them for the covering of straw. Now this is where we planted up that half a barrel. You might remember we popped a few leaves in. Something's enjoying it. And some beans. Here we've prepared this ready for a pumpkin or courgettes. I haven't decided yet. And here we have peas. And behind it, the greenhouse. Now this was where our last year's compost bin was. I dug out the compost, left a little on the bottom, and thought I'd pop a few sunflowers in there. I've also put some beans in too. Hopefully the beans will climb up the canes and up the sunflowers and into this most magnificent lilac tree. And you can probably see through the net there, the Chinese leaves are doing well, and so is the broccoli. And there's a special little treat. Even the Tesco spuds are growing. No, that's not me on a bad day. That's the green man that keeps an eye on the garden for me. And And of course there must always be place for flowers. After all, it's the flowers that really bring in the bees and the pollinators. And if you remember rightly, we popped a few seedlings inside this pop-up greenhouse. Well, look at them now. They've come out great. Look at the height of them. You don't need to worry about covering over most of the leaves. As long as you leave some out, all should be very, very well. So we'll just scrape them up like that. Then I'll come down the other side, earthen them up on this side too. And as you can see, they're just about gone, but they are still there, and that will encourage them to grow taller and stronger. Plus, by holding it in this way, all those little weeds disappear. I'll do the other side now. And even on the decking, we've managed to find a place to pop a few pots in with some herbs, some flowers, more lavender for the bees, juster berries for the birds, and all these amazing blossoms, which are for me. Oh, just get me sore knee down. Oh, there we go. Now, you might remember I showed you last year how to make these things, and I explained to you that really it was just an old compost bin that I didn't need and how I did it. So there's a link somewhere here that will show you how to do it. But what it means is that in a very small space I can get about 30 or 40 plants in here, and as long as I keep it fed and watered, they'll do really well. The slugs tend not to get up to them. So when I look at this, I kind of split it into 3 bits. I think I've got the bottom bit down here, which is really nice to put something like nasturtiums in, and then they'll fall out and they'll cover all around this area. As you get to the next bit here, good for salad veg, good for lettuces, good for Chinese leaves. You can also, if you put your leaves in, you could pop a couple more seeds in of spinach, and then by the time your leaves have been harvested, your spinach has come through. So don't forget to do that. And then on the top, where you can see, I might stick a big bit of chard or something else in around the top. What I'm probably going to do with this one is put a bit more compost on the top, fill it off with some of my homemade compost, and then plant courgettes right into the top itself. So I'll have courgettes, Chinese leaves, nasturtiums down on the bottom. And in these little cubby holes round the side, oh, that's a nice big bit of dandelion, we'll just take that out. In these little cubby holes round the side, it's perfect to put sunflowers. You could put other things, you could put wallflowers, you could put daisies, you can do whatever you like, but I like sunflowers. And I'll put these ones in, they'll be the giant headers, probably Kingdom, which I think is a giant header. And I've actually got a couple, it's like Blue Peter, isn't it? Here's one I prepared earlier. So anyway, this is a Kingdom one. And you can see it's a good size going in there now. It's about that big. And we'll put them in the corners. And the reason I put them out the corners is, for one thing, they're out of the wind and they're out of the heavy rain if it comes. And this is Scotland, and we'll get it, you know. The other thing is it gives them the shelter they need till they get to about this high. By the time they're at this height, not much else can touch them. Now I'll leave them in on little canes for now, but as they get bigger, I'll probably put a wooden stake in, because when they get 3 meters tall, they get very top heavy as well. Now, people often ask me, why do I grow so many sunflowers? And the answer is very simple. I harvest the heads of them after they've dried out. So they're filled with 5,000 seeds in the top, sunflower seeds. Yes, that's where you get sunflower seeds from. Sunflowers, and I dry them out, and then in the winter comes, when there's not much food for the birds around, I get 1 a week out and I just hang it up, and all the birds come in and they feed on the sunflower. So it's a very inexpensive way of attracting an awful lot of birds to your garden, and those little birds will eat all the slugs, all the snails, and all the nasties in your garden. So we're going to get started now, and first I'm going to pop in a couple of these pak choi. Some people call them Chinese leaves, Chinese cabbages. I like to call them pak choi. So we're going to pop these in, and you can see we planted these out. Haven't got a date on. I tell you to put dates and sticks on and I always forget. But I planted these out into these old fruit cartons. You can get about 6 or 8 in very comfortably, and if you just take hold of it and tear it, you get the plant and a lovely root. Now remember, the real strength in any seedling is in the root, not the leaves. It doesn't matter how good it looks up there, if that bit down there is rubbish, this bit will die. So look after that. Don't you see those tiny little leaves and the little roots on the bottom? That's what we're planting. So all I'm going to do is, with my fingers, dibby a wee bit of a hole, get the hole in, and then put it in and push it down. And then with a handful of my own soil, that sounds terrible, with a handful of the garden soil, I'll just chuck it in around it and bury it in. And when I finish, I'll make sure that everything that I put in here gets a really good watering. Now I know the sun's shining, and I know that the real gardeners amongst you will say you shouldn't water your plants in the sun. But I ask you, when you're really thirsty, do you want to drink of water then? Or do you want to wait till later on in the day? You probably want to drink of water when you're thirsty. Well, these things will be thirsty and they'll be a bit stressed from being planted in. So I don't think it hurts too much to just give them a bit of a drink. And once they've had a drink, they'll be fine. Don't flood them, mind you, just a drink. And you can see already, there's a bit of spinach seed there. You can see already they're looking nice. And if I can get a really good harvest of pak choi from here, well, I can make hippie kimchi till me heart is content, Calder. It's also pretty darn good for stir fries. And you can see they're easy. Once you've grown the seedling like this, it's really, really easy. You simply dibby a little hole with your fingers, put the root in, and make sure the root is cuddled in. So you want to cuddle it with more soil or more compost. Now, once it's been settled for a while, it's always good to go back, revisit it, and put a bit more compost and filler on. Now the reason for that is that when these get in, they'll look really good and tight and everything, but that soil will move around a little bit, and it's quite normal for these plants to get a little bit loose with the wind, whereas they don't like to be too loose. So it doesn't hurt to just go back and cover them over a wee bit. So as you can see, that's another one going in there. Push a bit of that topsoil in there. I hope this audio is not too loud for you. So that's the plants going in really well. Now the nasturtiums, I don't know what they are. I got a packet that were 2 years out of date, and I think out of all of them, 3 haven't grown. All the rest have come through. So I'm going to put a couple of these in around the bottom. Now you don't need too many nasturtiums because they grow like wildfire. In fact, they grow like nasturtiums, don't they? But I was always told you don't put them in because they're no good, you know, they're terrible. Well, actually, I've learned to love nasturtiums. The reason I love them is, for one, they'll attract all the beetles away from your cabbages and your lettuces. They'll all go to the nasturtiums to eat. For 2, they're beautiful to look at. They're absolutely lovely. They'll bring all the pollinators in. And for 3, there's not a bit of the plant that's not edible. The roots are nice if you wash them off, they're great. The leaves are beautiful in a salad. The flowers are pretty and tasty. You put them on the top of cakes to decorate them, put them in your soups, mix them in with your salad. But best of all for me is the little seed pods at the end of its life. I harvest them and they are spicy as anything. They're like curry and they're lovely to mix a few of them in with whatever you're eating. Now you can be posh and just put them in a jar with some vinegar and it turns them into something a bit like capers. So if you have cocktails in the afternoon, you can put a couple of your own capers in. Nasturtium seeds, really tasty. Now, I tell you what, mind, me yakking away like this is not getting them planted, is it? There we are. So we'll just give that a good drink now. Plenty in the top to let it run all the way down. And a good drink of those sunflowers I've just put in, because they will need a good sup. But then again, in this weather, don't we all? And you can see on the top, now as we come down to the messy garden, I call it messy because I just leave it a little wild. Kind of like it that way. You can see we have a very raggedy lavender hedge here. But you know, I find if you just take it and snap back your new growth, as we snap back the old growth, the new growth is underneath it. So when you hear all these experts tell you the perfect way to do it, you tend to find the simplest way works just as well. Now this lavender bush was due to be replaced about 10 years ago, and we just left it. And for 10 years we've had a magnificent show of lavender. It's fed the bees, and it hasn't really taken any work at all to manage it. Coming further along the wall, we have the beautiful clematis coming in. These will look beautiful. Behind them, this is a white currant, gooseberry, potatoes, and look at these. There's a gooseberry with the berries on. And look at the height of these. Now these are kale plants. They do quite well here. That one is, well, the top of the flowers is about 3 meters. Now I'll let these go to seed this year. Even the bees are still enjoying it, you can see. We'll collect the seed, and then we'll make that available for anybody that wants it next year. We'll find some way of getting it out to all of you out there that maybe want a few free seeds to grow these magnificent giant kale plants. And behind it we have sage, apple trees, black currant and red currant. Despite everything being a little raggedy, it's all growing just beautifully. I mean, you ask the dandelions if they're happy in here. Look at that. Right down to a magnificent honeysuckle.